أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. عن فاطمة الزهراء عليه السلام بنت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله أنها قالت: دخل علي أبي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله في بعض الأيام فقال: السلام عليك يا فاطمة. فقلت: عليك السلام. قال: إني أجد في بدني ضعفا. فقلت له: أعيذك بالله يا أبتاه من ضعف. فقال: يا فاطمة ائتيني بالكساء اليماني فخدتيني به. فأتيته بالكساء اليماني فخديته به وسرت أنظر إليه وإذا وجهه يتلألأ كأنه البدر في ليلة تمامه وكماله. فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسين عليه السلام قد أقبل وقال: السلام عليك يا أماه. فقلت: وعليك السلام يا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي. فقال: يا أماه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله صلى الله عليه. فقلت: نعم إن جدك تحت الكساء. فأقبل الحسين نحو الكساء وقال: السلام عليك يا جداه يا رسول الله. أتأذن لي أن أدخل معك تحت الكساء؟ فقال: وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا صاحب حوضي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل معه تحت الكساء فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسين قد أقبل وقال: السلام عليك يا أماه. فقلت: وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي. فقال: يا أماه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله. فقلت: نعم إن جدك وأخاك تحت الكساء. فدنا الحسين نحو الكساء وقال: السلام عليك يا جداه. السلام عليك يا من اختاره الله. أتأذن لي أن أكون معكما تحت الكساء؟ فقال: وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا شافع أمتي، قد أذنت لك. فدخلا معهما تحت الكساء فأقبل عند ذلك أبو الحسين علي بن أبي طالب وقال: السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله. فقلت: وعليك السلام يا أبا الحسن ويا أمير المؤمنين. فقال: يا فاطمة إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة أخي وابن عمي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله. فقلت نعم حاحوا مع ولديك تحت الكساء. فأقبل علي نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله، تأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ قال له وعليك السلام يا أخي ويا وسيدي وخليفتي وصاحب لواعبي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل علي تحت الكساء، ثم أتيت نحو الكساء وقلت السلام عليك يا أبتاه يا رسول الله، تأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ قال وعليك السلام يا بنتي ويا بضعتي، قد أذنت لك. فدخلت تحت الكساء. صلوات. فلما اكتملنا جميعا تحت الكساء أخذ أبي رسول الله بطراف الكساء وأومأ بيده اليمنى إلى السماء وقال اللهم إن هؤلاء أهل بيتي وخستي وحمتي، لحمهم لحمي ودمهم دمي، يعلمني ما يعلمهم ويحزنني ما يحزنهم، أن حرب لمن حاربهم وسلم لمن سالمهم وعدو لمن عاداهم ومحب لمن أحبهم، إنهم مني وأنا منهم. فاجعل صلواتك وبركاتك ورحمتك وغفرانك ورضوانك عليه وعليهم، وأذهب عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. صلوات. وقال الله عز وجل يا ملائكتي ويا سكان السماوات إني عما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدحية ولا قمرا منير ولا شمسا مضيعة ولا فلك يدور ولا يجرى ولا فلك يسري إلى في محبة هؤلاء النمسة الذين هم تحت الكساء. فقال المين جبرائيل يا رب من تحت الكساء؟ فقال عز وجل هم أهل بيت النبوة ومعدن الرسالة، هم فاطمة وأبوها وبعله وبنوها. فقال جبرائيل يا ربي أتأذن لي أن أحبط إلى الأرض لأكون معهم سادسا؟ فقال الله نعم قد أذنت لك. فحبط المين جبرائيل وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله، علي أعلى. صلوات. ويقول لك وعزتي وجلالي إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدحية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مذيعة ولا فلكا يدور ولا يجرى أجري والفلك يسري إلا أجلكم ومحبتكم، وقد عدني أن أدخل معكم تأذن لي يا رسول الله؟ فقال رسول الله وعليك السلام يا عمينا وحي الله، فإنه نام قد أذنت لك. فدخل جبرائيل معنا تحت الكساء فقال لي إن الله قد أوحى إليكم ويقول إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. فقال وعلي عني يا رسول الله أخرجني ما لجلوسنا هذا تحت الكساء من الفضل عند الله. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واستفاني بالرسالة نبيا ما ذكر جبرون أحد في محفل من محافل أهل العرب وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبين إلى ونزلت عليهم الرحمة وخفت بهم الملائكة واستغفرت لهم إلى أن يتفرقوا. فقال وعلي عليه السلام إذن والله فزنا وفاز شيعتنا ورب الكعبة. فقال علي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله يا علي والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واستفاني بالرسالة نجيا ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محفل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا وفيهم محموم إلا وفرج الله همه ولا مخموم إلا وكشف الله خمه ولا طالب حاجة إلا وكفى الله حاجته. فقال علي عليه السلام إذني والله فزنا وسعيدنا وكذلك شيعتنا فازوا وسعيدوا في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة. صلوات الله صل على
صلوات برای خوشنودی امام زمان بلند صلوات हुसैन बांट रहे हैं निजात ले जाओ। हुसैन बांट रहे हैं निजात ले जाओ। कुछ कायनात ले जाओ। हुसैन बांट रहे हैं निजात ले जाओ। ये करबला है ये मोजिज़े नुमा की बात
نما کی بستی ہے کفن میں سے کے لپیٹو حیات لے جاؤ حسین بانٹ رہے ہیں نجات لے جاؤ کہیں گے ماتمی حلقوں سے لوگ محشر میں کہیں گے ماتمی حلقوں سے لوگ محشر میں ہمیں حسین کی جنت میں ساتھ لے جاؤ حسین بانٹ رہے ہیں نجات لے جاؤ قسم حسین کی پرسے میں کم ہی لگتا ہے قسم حسین کی پرسے میں کم ہی لگتا ہے بلند جتنا بھی ماتم میں ہاتھ لے جاؤ کچھ آنسوں کے عوض کائنات لے جاؤ حسین بانٹ رہے ہیں نجات لے جاؤ کہیں گی فاطمہ وقت ظہور مغادی سے کہیں گی فاطمہ وقت ظہور مہادی سے لڑائی کے لیے غازی کو ساتھ لے جاؤ حسین بانٹ رہے ہیں نجات لے جاؤ رب الصلوات
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
محمد وآل محمد بلند الصلوات
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
اے باد صبا جا کے امو کو بتانا پیاسی ہے سکینہ اے باد صبا جا کے یہ امو کو بتانا پیاسی ہے سکینہ یاد آئے سکینہ تو چچا لوٹ کے آنا پیاسی ہے سکینہ اس چھوٹے سے سن میں اس تم میں نے اٹھائے اللہ کسی کو نہ یتیم ایسا بنائے، خود اپنے لہو میں کوئی بچی نہ نہائے، میں تم کو بلاتی رہی تم بھی تو نہ آئے، میں بن گئی بادس لعینوں کا نشانہ، پیاسی ہے سکینہ، پانی کی طلب مجھ کو کھلاتی رہی ٹھوکر، کہتا تھا نہیں دوں گا میں فوجوں کو پلا کر، جب شمع لائی کر چکا سیراب یہ لشکر، دکھلا کے مجھے پھینک دیا پانی زمین پر، جب سمجھی میں کیا ہوتا ہے امید دلانا، پیاسی ہے سکینہ، ایک رسی میں ہم سب کے گلے باندھ کے آداب کہتے ہوئے تاشیر گلے جانب کوفہ، اور اس پہ مصیبت یہ تھی کہ گلا چھوٹا تھا میرا، اٹھتی تھی جو پھپھیاں تو گلا کھینچتا تھا میرا، گردن کا میرے زخم چچا دیکھنے آنا، پیاسی ہے سکینہ، اے باد صبا جا کے کو بتانا، پیاسی ہے سکینہ، مختصرات بعظمت المولا علی بلند الصلوات، ہر ایک قدم پہ مقتل بازار بن گیا تھا عابد کے سامنے، ہر ایک قدم پہ مقتل بازار بن گیا تھا عابد کے سامنے، زہرا کی بیٹیوں کو لوگوں نے اتنا مارا عابد کے سامنے، ہر ایک قدم پہ مقتل بازار بن گیا تھا عابد کے سامنے، زہرا کی لاش جیسے حیدر کے سامنے تھی، چہرے پہ نیل دھار، پہلو تھا جیسے زخمی زندان میں بہتا، زخمی تھا ایسے لاشا عابد کے سامنے، ہر ایک قدم پہ مقتل بازار بن گیا تھا عابد کے سامنے، ہر بیوی سوچتی تھی بالوں سے منہ چھپائے، لیکن بازار سے گزرنا عابد کے سامنے، ہر ایک قدم پہ مقتل بازار بن گیا تھا عابد کے سامنے۔ لینا ہے جس نے کوئی بدلہ علی سے آئے، یہ ہے علی کی بیٹی سے ستائے، زینب کی سنت فاسق کرنے لگا اشارہ عابد کے سامنے، ہر ایک قدم پہ مقتل بازار بن گیا تھا عابد کے سامنے۔ زہرا کی بیٹیوں کو لوگوں نے اتنا مارا عابد کے سامنے، ہر ایک قدم پہ مقتل بازار بن گیا تھا عابد کے سامنے۔ محمد والے محمد تو سلام۔
بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم، قل هو اللہ احد اللہ الصمد لم یلد ولم یولد ولم یکن له کفوا احد۔ بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم، انا اعطیناک الکوثر فصل لربک وانحر ان شانئک هو الابتر۔
Come on. You want to, I can see. He wants to know Bismillah. Come on. For example, we want to. Yes. 4-8. 1 minute. All right. Ari? Yeah, Ari. Please. You never say something with a 1 minute speech. Yeah. And Abu Bakr was on this. Each have to say answer. When I say, huh? No, you could. Anything else, you. No, I mean, like, only have to say, Abu Bakr, straight up, they were pretty terrible. It's not something that you might just send the Quran. Go and be placed.
He says he wants to do it. I never said he wants to do it. You get so much reward. You get so much reward. You get so much reward.
Okay, if he goes, then you go. So, then you go. Sure, Bismillah, let's go. No joking, be serious. No smiling, no smiling. Say salawat. Right tonight. Say slightly louder.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد.
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. ويقف سورة شو سورة؟
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Qul huwallahu ahad, Allahu samad, lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. A'udzu minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Inna a'tainaka al-kawthar fasalli li rabbika wanhar. Inna shani'aka huwal abtar.
Different surahs. Read it. So one more. Surah Al-Fatihah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
Surah Al-Fatihah. Surah Al-Fatihah. Go. You can do it. You're very confident. Go. Bismillah. Salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. The Surah Al-Fatihah.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد.
Wait, the brother. Would you like to recite something? Alright, you're smiling, so you want.
You get so much reward.
You do. Trust me.
You get so much
It's
reward.
awesome. Trust me. Just break the ice. Increase your confidence. Trust me. Look, I went up. I slightly messed up, isn't it? But am I sweating? No, not really. But it's fine. Come on. Alright. After salawat, you have to go then. Wait, so you want to choose someone who has to go first, and then you go. How
I
about
do
that?
it again. Choose.
He'll do it again. How about that? Yes, that's good. Salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Make it longer.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. صلوات.
Salawat.
اللهم صل على
وعليك السلام.
اللهم
وعليك السلام. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا وحبيبنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد
وعلى بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين. أما بعد فقد قال الإمام السجاد عليه السلام: أنا ابن مكة ومنى وزمزم وصفا. First and foremost, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for His infinite mercy in allowing us to hold this grand Majlis for our great Imam, Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, within our own homes. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we will raise our hands in dua. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, bihaqqi Imam Sajjad, to bless this household, to remove all its difficulties, and to bless the tawfiqat of all of their brothers here today. I want to first and foremost apologize to you for being so late. I was basically trying to outsmart Apple Maps. Apple Maps was telling me go through the long way. As in, if you come through the road here, Apple Maps was telling me no, go the other way and come round. I thought I knew more because I'm from Walthamstow. I took it through Wood Street. And on Wood Street I realised later on why this happened. There was like a road work happening, so there was 4-way traffic lights. Meaning that from this way we could not go. We had to wait till all of the other 3 ways have gone through. So that took me another 15 minutes. Apologies, but I'm here, and inshallah I hope to make it up to you guys with the Majlis today. As you know, it's the Majlis Shahadat of Bibi Sakina alayhi salam. So I thought, what topic would be best for us? topic I have decided to do is on the youth itself. MashaAllah, I can see before me some brothers who are like 9, 10, others who are like 15, 16. So I thought, in light of the Quran, as well as the Hadith, what stories of the youth can we bring forward? Because when we think about Imam Sajjad, I started the khutbah with Imam Sajjad's famous words, I am the son of Makkah and Mina, and Zamzam and Safa. Normally when you introduce yourself, today if you introduce yourself here to one each other, you say, I am, for example, Zuryaab, I am so and so years old, I support Arsenal Football Club, alhamdulillah, you support Man United, astaghfirullah, and many things like that, right? You introduce yourself based on what other brothers would know. If you're into cricket, you introduce yourself based on cricket. If you're into racing, Formula 1, introduce yourself based on that. Imam Sajjad in this khutbah, he's a youth, 22, 23 years of age. He's standing there in the court of Yazid, lanatullah alayh. And there you can see there's the killers of his father, the killers of his brothers, the killers of his cousins, his uncles, and the men who have tortured his mum, his sister, and his women. And they're all surrounding him. And he says, now let me introduce myself. I am the son of Makkah and Mina, and Zamzam and Safa. Why did he say this? Inshallah, we'll look at this today. Before we begin with, we find the youth in general in any society, Muslim, non-Muslim, is extremely important. There's a reason why your parents have brought you here, take you to Majlis, make you wear black clothes in Muharram, because they also went through a similar thing. When you have some time, when we go home, I speak for myself first and foremost, don't get stuck on your phone, or your PS5, or the TV. Speak with your parents. There's a very beautiful story of how when you don't treasure your parents, you regret it later on. Imam Sajjad himself says, the right of your mother is that she raised you like no one raises anyone. She carried you like no one carries anyone. She would put herself in the sun to make sure you had shade. And she would put herself on the wet part anywhere to keep you dry. She would make sure you have clothes and you had stomach in your food in your stomach. Just like today, your uniforms, who buys your uniforms for you? Your parents. Who buys you your toys and everything, your needs, day-to-day needs, your roof over your house? Your parents, right? In this story, there was a young man. Now his mum didn't have one eye. So when she would come to school to pick him up, she used to come with one eye. All the other kids used to run away, they used to get scared of her. So the kid always, every day, during the school pick-up and drop-off, 9 in the morning and 3:30 in the afternoon, he would be shouting at his mum. Why have you come here? You're embarrassing me, these kids are running away from me, I don't have any friends because of you. The mum kept quiet. Then he grew a bit older, he went to college, same thing. She's coming in the car to pick him up, he's telling her, park on the side, don't park on the main road. My friends will get scared of you. Then he left his home, he went to Australia. So he moved from the UK to Sydney, Australia. Became a big businessman, had his own family, got married, had his own kids. One day his mum thought, he doesn't even call me. He doesn't even message me. Let me go surprise him. So she went to the house, she knocked on the door, and her grandson, so the son of her son, the grandson opened it. Now he didn't know who this woman was. He just saw a lady with one eye. So he started to scream and run away. The son came again. He said, my mum, why are you disturbing me now? Don't you know I'm trying to live happily with my family? Why are you doing this to us? I left the UK so you wouldn't follow us. Being very rude to his mum, his own mum. She went away quietly. One day he got a call, your mother sadly has now passed away. Now again, he wasn't really attached, his akhlaq wasn't good, but she left a letter for him. When he opened this letter and he read what was inside, he began running into the streets crying. In the middle of the night, he didn't know what to do. What was in this letter? His mum wrote to him, my son, my whole life you said I scared you, because of me your friends bullied you. When you were born with only one eye. I gave you my eye, which is why you have two eyes. And I suffered my whole life for you. Now it's too late. His mother was not alive. But that regret, can time come back? No, it can't. So whilst we're with our parents, let's try to cherish it. Sometimes we may not see eye to eye. You may think that my friends are more important to me, my mum and dad may not be understanding me. They know you when no one knew you. When a baby speaks, can you and me understand? No. The mom understands. The father understands. When the baby is born, it's crying. Who understands it's crying? The parents. So if your parents knew you when you didn't know nothing, I'm sure they know now. If they don't understand something, maybe something on the internet, your parents don't know how to access it, then have the same patience with them like they had with us. When we couldn't speak, who taught us how to speak? Parents. We would ask the same question 50 times a day. What's this? What's that? And your parents would be telling you while smiling. When you learned the alphabet, A, B, C, D to Z, 26 letters, it was a struggle, wasn't it? The times table, a struggle. But your parents had sabr. So show the same sabr with them. In light of this, again, the youth, coming back to my point, the youth are so important. If any society, Muslim, non-Muslim, if the youth are corrupt, that society is finished. I'll give you an example. In Pakistan, let's talk about Pakistan for example. 75% of the population, 220 million people, 75% is under the age of 25. That's a big proportion. So what have certain people done to Pakistan? They've got the youth hooked onto the internet. All of the balas, you could say indecency, everything on the internet. So what have they done? They've polluted the minds of the youth. They're not fighting these countries physically. They've started to pollute the youth. When you pollute the youth, that kid who's 17 and he's stuck on the phone doing things he shouldn't be. Now when he's 20, 25, 30, what's that society going to be? Nothing. This is why now you understand why Islam places an importance on the youth and why your parents force you sometimes, at the beginning anyway, to come to the Majlis, to come to the madrasa, because they've been through this. They want to save you from those kind of evil powers, let's say. And we'll come on to this later on when we talk about the Dajjal. What's the Dajjal? Everyone speaks about Dajjal, the Antichrist. How is he? We'll come on to that later. The best examples of the youth we have, I'll only mention a few. Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam. If you remember the Muharram Majlis, we mentioned it, so I'm not going to go too much into it. I'm just going to signpost and go forward. Nabi Ibrahim, 20, 21 years of age, he went against the whole of society. You know, people say, follow the majority. If the majority is running into a cliff or running off a cliff, would you jump off a cliff? Why? The jumping off the Eiffel Tower, would you jump off the Eiffel Tower? No. You have your akal. Allah's given you a prophet in your mind. I know 2 plus 2 is 4. The whole universe says no, 2 plus 2 is 5. I don't care, that's not correct. Use your akal. Nabi Ibrahim said there's only one God. He tested the people. In one of the chapters of the Holy Quran, he says, maybe the star is my Lord. Everyone thought, mashallah, he believes in us. Because you know, back then there were people who worship the stars. Then in the morning, the star, what happens to the star in the morning? It disappears. Stars only come out at night. He said, this can't be my Lord. Because my Allah is always there. The star only comes at night. It's not there in the day. Now everyone put their head down, they're like, yeah, he's got a point. We can't pray to the stars, can we? Then he said the next night, maybe this moon is my Lord. Now all of the moon worshippers were like, alhamdulillah, he believes in our Lord. Then what happens in the day? What happens to the moon? It disappears. So he said, my Lord never disappears. He's with me 24/7. That can't be my Lord. Then in the day the sun came. Now he said, okay, this is my Lord. Now everyone became happy. Because the majority of the community in Nabi Ibrahim's time was what? Sun worshippers. Then what happens in the night? What happens to the sun? Disappears, mashallah. So he thought, the sun can't be my Lord either. My Lord is He who is always there. You know when you're at a wedding and you're eating, when does the cameraman come? You're there with your Gucci belt, your waistcoat, you're taking friends with your boys. When does the cameraman come? When you're eating. I sometimes think it's in the contract. Only record people when they're eating. When he comes by, how do you feel? Naturally speaking, how do you feel? A bit awkward, isn't it? I'm trying to eat and someone's there with the camera. And he's not moving. He's looking at me, he stopped there. So you eat a bit differently. That's what taqwa is. There's the camera of Allah always on us. When you're driving and there's a speed camera, what happens? You slow down. Red camera, red light camera, slow down, stop. Why? There's an order to everything. There's an order to everything. Maybe this is a bit for the older kids. When you go into the banking industry, finance, if you go into the corporate world, there's the Financial Regulatory Service, right? FSA. Why are they there? The FCA, sorry. Why are they there? I thought there was freedom for everyone. You can't have complete freedom. Imagine your doctor says to you, eat whatever you want to eat. I'm a kind doctor. Is that good for you? 10 Pepsis a day, no matter how much you want to have it. It's not good for you. You can't have complete freedom in everything. Why do people go to the gym? Why are you lifting up dumbbells and trying to bench press 100 kg? Why? Isn't that zulm on your muscles? No, it is. You want to gain bigger muscles, right? So you put pressure onto them because then they build resistance. Similarly, when we go through trials in life, Allah is trying to bulk up your soul so you become a better person. Just like how diamonds are found where? In the volcanoes. You know when the lava comes out? After it goes away, you find precious diamonds from that soil. After extreme heat, Allah's putting you through the same. Classic example therefore we have is Nabi Ibrahim. An atheist came to him and said, I give life and death. You say Allah causes someone to die and live. I do the same. I can free one person and I can kill someone. So I give life and death. Nabi Ibrahim responded, my Allah makes the sun come from the east. He makes it rise up. You make it rise up from the west, then I'll believe you. He couldn't say anything after this. See, there's a natural order to everything. We, the lovers of the Ahlul Bayt, are blessed to be of those who believe in Allah and the Ahlul Bayt who have control over this. And I'll explain what's coming later on. My second example, Ashabul Kahf. I won't go too much into this, this is a whole topic on its own. But there was a group of 7, 8 or 9. The Quran says, no one really knows how many there were. 7, 8 or 9 youths, like you brothers here, who they ran away from the tyrant of their time because he was forcing them to worship the sun, the moon and so on. This is many years after Nabi Ibrahim, and they ran away into a cave. Now this cave could be in Syria, it could be in Turkey, or it could be in Jordan. Shia ulama say it's most likely in Turkey. The seven sleepers cave. If you Google it, seven sleepers cave. Ashab al-Kahf. They are still sleeping today. They are still alive. And the Quran says they are our ayat, a sign for the people. They're not prophets. They're not imams. They're not ma'soom. Ordinary people like you and me. But Allah says they left everything for me. So now I've made them part of my holy word. There's a whole chapter in the Quran called Surah Kahf, based on the youth. Where does this come from? From their niyyah. This shows us today, it doesn't mean you guys go home now, pack your bags and run to the cave and say, I'm leaving everyone. Don't do that. What it means is sacrifice those things in your life which are holding you back from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I know the Premier League has started again, FA Cup has started again, these things. Good. I'm a big Arsenal fan, I just told you guys. But when it's time for namaz, don't care what happens. My namaz comes first. Football game is on, my mum and dad call me for help, my sibling calls me for help. Don't care what's happening, I go to my family's help first. That's how you are sacrificing everything. And Allah will reward you for that. Third example, the example of Talut and Jalut. Basically, you know in Muharram, and even now, we had the Tabut of Imam Sajjad yesterday I believe it was. You might have seen people kiss it and touch it. Many youths question this, which is not a bad thing. Why am I kissing something and touching something which we've made? Is it like Hinduism? The point is this. The Quran mentions certain tabuts and holy relics which because they are associated to a prophet, meaning because they're related to a prophet, they are holy. I'll give you an example. Surah Baqarah, it mentions Tabut Sakina. What's Tabut Sakina? Banu Israel, the community of Israel, they had a box. And every war they went into, every fight they had with other communities and other, you know, like you have wars today. To defend their country, they used to take this Tabut Sakina. Surah Baqarah mentions this. What was inside? A body? No. The shoes of Nabi Musa. The staff, you know Nabi Musa had a walking stick. The staff of Nabi Musa, his Abba, the Amama of Hazrat Harun. That's all there was in it. And the Quran says it was a very, very holy thing. The Banu Israel, however, they began to take it as a joke. So you know, like you have little kids playing with cars and stuff. What they would do is they would leave it in the road and little kids would jump into it and treat it like a bouncy castle. You know, jump up in a castle. They were disrespecting this tabut. So you see when you go to the mosque, your parents are like, kiss it, treat it with respect, don't run around it. Don't, for example, hit it with a ball or something. You have to respect these tabuts. Why? Because they're associated with the Ahlul Bayt. Ahlul Bayt are not physically in there. But this act is reminding us of gaining closer proximity to the Ahlul Bayt. And the scholars have allowed it. Bibi Banin, the mother of Hazrat Abbas, she couldn't go to Karbala. Where was she? In Medina. When she heard Imam Hussein had died, what did she do? She didn't go to Karbala. She made 4 graves with her finger in the sand and said, these 4 are the graves of my son. And she made a 5th grave and said, I'm going to cry for my Hussein over here. And the scholars allowed it. Coming back to our example, the Banu Israel were banished outside of Palestine for many, many years. Whenever Allah gave them someone to go fight, because Jalut was this big man, very well built, had a lot of muscles, he was over 8 feet tall. So you imagine this guy, when you look at him, you have to look at him like that. And his army was a big army. The Banu Israel, whenever they tried to fight him, he would massacre them. You're talking annihilation. You have 1,000 men, 2-3 would survive. The other 997 killed. That's how destructive this Jalut person was. You've heard of the story, David and Goliath, in your school, in Christianity. This is the same thing. Jalut was a very bad king. So then Allah gave Banu Israel a man called Talut. If you translate Talut into English, it's called Samuel. You may have friends in school called Samuel. In Arabic or Hebrew, it's Talut. When Allah said, Talut now, this youth, like you guys, this youth is now your leader, go to fight Jalut, but take him with you. Let him lead the army. Do you know what the Banu Israel said? Why him? He's a young boy. He has no money. We have money. He works on a farm. That's all he does the whole day, working on a farm, plowing. The call came to Banu Israel. He is the best man for this job because he's sincere. He's a youth. He's pure. He believes in Allah and he's well built. So you know, Jalut is well built. Talut is well built as well. How? He works on the farm the whole day, in the heat, in the cold. He's using his axe. So it's like he's doing his gym, so to speak. So this time they went to fight Jalut, they won. Because of Talut, but Nabi Dawood, David, he was also around 15, 16. He ended up killing Jalut. Again, power to whom? The youth, like you and me. Don't consider yourself to be small people or that my age is this. No. Even in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, salawat. Even in the time of Rasulullah, peace be upon him and his family, a person came up to him, 16, 17 years of age. And Rasulullah said, this boy, he wasn't Imam Ali by the way. You know, Rasulullah had many expeditions, many other wars. The war of Muta, the war of Tabuk, many other battles. Rasulullah said, this boy, he's going to be the leader of this army. He said, why? Rasulullah said, because he knows Surah Baqarah. He knows the tafsir of it. So he's going to be the leader of your army. You see, nowadays as well, we have these concepts, artificial intelligence, chat GPT, plug in your essay, get the results back, even if it's a C or B. These things are man-made. One of my friends, he told me the other day, that there was a computer Google built, not like a physical computer, a system, a software. And it was like, it knew everything. Then they told it, can you turn yourself off? Can you go to sleep now? What did the computer reply? No. They're like, please, not self-destruct, but please shut down. They put in the code. It responded back to them saying, no, I'm not going to shut down. It wanted to live forever. So they had to literally go to the plugs and pull out the socket. All these machineries are not real. Your real intelligence is who? You. Your mind. I'll give you a proof. In the time of Nabi Solomon, he was well known for having a big empire. His empire was like no other prophet. Even the jinns were working for him. Jinns we can't see. You know, angels, demons, they were working for him as well. As they were working for him, there was a lady called the Queen of Sheba. The Queen of Sheba is somewhere in Africa, this area. People used to worship her, and they used to worship the sun together. And she had a throne, you know, where you sit like a member. Her throne was so big, it stretched for miles. You can imagine, it wasn't like 10 feet. For miles, this throne stretched. Nabi Sulaiman said, who can bring me her throne? Imagine if you try to pick up this table, or you try to pick up this chair, one of you brothers can pick up easily. If it's a whole container, then maybe 2 or 3 brothers. Nabi Sulaiman said, who can bring me her throne? That throne which is kilometers, miles long. Who can bring it to me? One jinn got up, it's in the Quran. He said, I'll bring it to you before you stand up. Nabi Sulaiman was sitting on his chair. This jinn said to him, I'll bring it to you before you stand up. Nabi Sulaiman said, that's not quick enough. I want it faster. So there was a man, again, another youth, a young man in the crowd. He said, I'll bring it to you before you blink. If you will blink, you don't realize you're blinking. How quick is a blink? A second? Quicker than a second? You don't realize it. This young man said, I'll bring it to you, her throne, which is thousands of kilograms, big and heavy. I'll bring it to you before you blink. So Nabi Sulaiman said, okay. He blinked, and this massive throne was in front of him. Imam Sadiq here says, our sixth Imam says, that man was called Asif ibn Barkhiyah. He only had 1% of the knowledge of the Quran and the holy, you could say, texts. We, the Ahlul Bayt, have the other 72 layers. Can you imagine? He had 1% of the knowledge, and when Nabi Sulaiman blinked, this man who's not a prophet, he's a youth, but he used to study. He used to take things seriously and sincerely. Before Nabi Sulaiman blinked, he brought this massive throne to him. Imagine the knowledge of the Ahlul Bayt. This brings me to my final example before we finish. Imam Sajjad. He was also 22, 23 in the Battle of Karbala. He was sick, well, according to traditions, up until the 9th of Muharram, he wasn't. He was very brave. He was also going to go fight. But Allah had wanted to save the process of Imamah. Imagine Imam Sajjad got killed in Karbala. There would be no Imams after him. He was the only surviving son of Imam Hussein. In his time, some people came up to him and said, can we see other planets? Is there life on other planets? Imam Sajjad said yes. He said, how? I'll mention something in the brackets for you guys. Some traditions we have from the Ahlul Bayt which talk about the future, they're spoken about like metaphors. Do you guys know what a metaphor is? Like the sun is like, let's say my eye is like the sun. Is my eye the sun? No. But it's like the sun. I'm trying to use a simile and a metaphor to paint a bigger picture for you guys. A person came to the Prophet and said, Dajjal. Remember I mentioned Dajjal at the beginning? How will Dajjal be? How will he look? Now people, when you say Dajjal, they think one eye. They think it's going to be a man, he's going to have one eye, he's going to, on top of his head it will be written kufr, and people will be running away from him. Do you think if it's a man physically, wouldn't you recognize him? The Quran, the Ahlul Bayt, they say that he's going to deceive many people. So if a man comes up to you one eye, don't you know he's Dajjal? So how is he deceiving people? The people said, Rasulullah, describe Dajjal to us. Now pick up on these metaphors, okay? Rasulullah said, his horse will be so fast, it will travel from the east to the west in a short distance. His horse will eat fire. The fuel of this horse will be fire. And he will have one eye. Dajjal himself would have one eye. Ulama say, if you interpret this today, it means something else. Rasulullah back then couldn't tell the people there's going to be jets, there's going to be planes, there's going to be cars. They didn't even know what steering wheel was, what's electricity. So Rasulullah knew of these things, but he had to speak very carefully. This is why Rasulullah said some parts of the Quran, you the people of Makkah won't understand. There's a community in the future, like mashallah you community today, who understand these better. So the ulama have interpreted this. They say a horse eating fire. Have you ever heard of that? Maybe in Jahannam. But how can a horse eat fire? No, what this meant was planes, private jets. How quick can a jet take you from New York to London? A few hours. It'll eat fire. Fire as in fuel, petrol. And Dajjal will have one eye. Meaning what? He will see through one vision only. My way or the highway. Only what I believe in, you must believe in. Therefore, Dajjal is a system. It's not a physical man. If you think it's a man, then you'll miss him. Look out for that system. Know what system you're in. Coming back to Imam Sajjad, they said, can we go to other planets? And Imam Sajjad can't tell them, go at the speed of light, look at these equations. If he was here today, we would understand it better. But those people didn't understand. So they said, we were looking at Imam Sajjad, then he disappeared. Then he came back a few seconds later, we were like, where were you? He disappeared from his chair. Imam Sajjad said, I have just travelled to the other planets, according to this tradition, and I've come back now, and there are other beings, other species on these planets. Now it's up to us to try and find them. This is why they say Shia Islam, which mashallah, which you lot have, and we have, may Allah keep us on this. It's the best form of religion. It allows for everything. Have you guys heard of Albert Einstein? Have you looked at why he's being treated like a joke? Have you ever studied him in school? Here and there. But you know more of him like a meme, don't you nowadays? They say he wrote letters in the 1960s and 50s. He wrote letters to all of the world's religions, everyone. Buddhism, Hinduism, Sunni Islam, Shia Islam, Sikhism, everyone. And he had one question. Is time travel or space travel possible according to religion? This letter went to Qum, Ayatollah Burjardi. He's buried in the shrine of Bibi Masuma Qum, the sister of Imam Rada. And he said, it is possible. You have to break the speed of light. You know when Rasulullah went on Miraj, the heavenly travel, how did Rasulullah go? His horse was called what? Burak. What does Burak mean? Bark, electricity. So when Rasulullah traveled to the heavens, he went past the speed of light. Agai Burjardi said, yes, in Shia Islam, you can have space travel. So Einstein himself said, Shia Islam is the only religion I have found which is compatible with science. And if you go to Qum, don't take my word for it, go to Qum, speak to the researchers, the ulama there, they've said it is extremely highly likely Einstein died a Shia Muslim. How? Why? Because he would write so many letters to Ayatollah Burjardi, to the Shia ulama in Qum, back in the 50s and 60s, and these letters stretched for many, many weeks. Sometimes they say bagfuls. You know what a sack is? A bag full of letters would come from Einstein, just asking questions, interpretations. And he was very impressed and pleased with the answers from Shia Islam. Perhaps this is why you don't really hear Einstein. You just see him as a joke. Read, look into his writings. See after how his theory of relativity, E equals mc squared, how these things developed. We don't really give him that much credit. But they say he also became Shia in his final moments. I finish off again, as you know, it's the Majlis of Bibi Sakina alayhi salam. Imam Sajjad is stood there in the court of Yazid. I mentioned in the beginning of the Majlis, the men are of Yazid. The system, Yazid. The media, Yazid. The power, Yazid. But Imam Sajjad stood there, and Lady Zainab, they gave one khutbah, and they changed the course of Sham forever. For more than 50 years, the people of Sham were given false media. Imam Ali is this, Imam Ali is that, he's not a Muslim, na'uzubillah, he does this. Now when the Bibis are brought into him, into Sham, the people have hatred towards them. Because they've heard bad things about Imam Ali all their life. All they see, Imam Ali is a tyrant. So they took out their revenge on the children of Imam Ali. But Imam Sajjad said, when he introduced himself, he didn't say straight away, I'm the son of Ali, I'm the son of Bibi Fatima, I'm the son of Hussein. He introduced himself based on the holy landmarks. I am the son of Makkah. The people of Sham were saying, how can you be the son of Makkah? Yazid, what is he saying? Now Yazid was quiet. He couldn't say anything. I am the son of Mina. I am the son of Zamzam and Safa. All these great landmarks you have, I am the inheritor. I have saved them. Makkah would not be Makkah if it wasn't for me and Imam Hussein. As you know, Yazid burnt the holy Kaaba. Imagine if Yazid stayed in power, what else would have happened? If Imam Hussein gave him bay'ah, God forbid, what else would have happened? I am the son of Mina. Mina is the land of sacrifices. My father sacrificed everything for Islam. I am the son of Zamzam. Zamzam, that holy water you drink. My father has Hakish Shifa as well. He was also a source of Shifa. I am the son of Safa, the signs of Allah. If you measure Safa to Marwa, the two mountains, 276 meters. Measure the distance between Hazrat Abbas's shrine and Imam Hussein's shrine, 276 meters. It's not by coincidence. It's because of Imam Hussein and the Ahlul Bayt we have Islam as it is. And they say Yazid became so nervous. When Imam Sajjad is giving this khutbah, all of these killers of the Ahlul Bayt are now crying. And they were looking at Yazid, then looking at Imam Sajjad. Looking at Yazid, looking at Imam Sajjad. They're like, Yazid, you lied to us for so many years. Your father Muawiyah lied to us for so many years. So then he said, recite the adhan. When you go to Damascus today, inshallah may Allah allow all of us to go for ziyarah. When you go to the darbar of the Banu Umayyah, the masjid of Banu Umayyah, let's say, even today this happens. Yazid said, quickly call the azan, so people stop listening to Imam Sajjad, but make 7 people give the azan. I've seen this with my own eyes. When you go there, there's a special room on the men's side, not on the ladies' side. On the men's side, there's a special room. At the time of adhan, just look into there. You see 7 people, one guy in front saying Allahu Akbar, and there's 5 or 6 guys behind him saying the same thing, Allahu Akbar. So imagine 7 people giving the azan, how loud it will be. Yazid started this, because he said, stop people listening to Imam Sajjad. Imam Sajjad stopped. Allahu Akbar. Imam Sajjad said, yes, Allah is the greatest. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Imam Sajjad said, yes, God is only one. Then the next part destroyed Yazid. They said, wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Imam Sajjad said, stop. He looked to Yazid. He said, Yazid, this Muhammad who they've called in the azan, is he my granddad or your grandfather? Now people are looking at Yazid, they're looking at Imam Sajjad. And they're looking at Yazid through the side eye, like, for real. Is he his grandfather or yours? Yazid stayed quiet. And the azan continued, and they say when the azan had finished, all of the people in that mosque of Banu Umayyah began leaving. Imagine you guys are sitting, and I'm about to speak, and you start getting up to go. And I'm like, brothers, wait, where are you going? Yazid did the same. Where are you going? It's time for namaz. The people replied, we're not going to pray with you anymore. 50 years, false media. 20 minutes, Imam Sajjad changed the course of Sham. But he didn't do it alone. He had the likes of Bibi Sakina with him. The ulama say that Bibi Zainab is called al-Masa'ib, the mother of tragedy, because of what she went through. Imam Sajjad is called Sayyid al-Sabirin, or Sayyid al-Musiba, because of the tragedies he saw. The ulama say Bibi Sakina, who was only 4 years old. The tragedy she went through, she is called Bintul Masa'ib, the daughter of tragedy. What did she go through? Some of the ulama in Damascus narrate, many years after Karbala, where Bibi Sakina was buried, there was a local Syed who lived there, very pious scholar. He had 3 daughters. His older daughter one day came and said, my father, I had a dream last night in which Bibi Sakina came and told me to tell you to move her grave or to remove the water, because some water has started coming into her grave. He said, it's only a dream, but don't tell your sisters. Keep this between me and you. She said, okay. The next day came, his second daughter came. She told him the exact same dream. I saw Bibi Sakina in my dream. She's telling me, move my grave or remove the water. Dig the grave in a way that the water goes away. After Karbala, I have no interest in water. As you know, she also died thirsty. The father said to her, did your sister tell you this? She said, no. I didn't even know she had this dream. He said, keep this between us. Then the third day, his youngest daughter came. She told him the exact same dream. He said, did your sisters tell you? No. So he took his women, he opened the grave, and he said to his women, you move the grave of Bibi Sakina to another location. So he stood away, kept his head down. A few minutes later, he heard screams and crying. And he said, what's happened? And a woman came up to him and said, some of your women, your sisters, your wife, your mother, they've passed out. He said, why? What's happened? They said, even after so many hundreds of years, when they opened the grave of Bibi Sakina, the marks of the bruises were still fresh on her skin. The marks of the blood on her skin from the torture, the whippings, were still there. And they were crying because the women said there was no coffin for Bibi Sakina because of the condition that she died in. What did Bibi Sakina go through? The narrator says, Sahal bin Sa'ad says, I was in Sham I saw in the bazaar of Sham, there's blood on the walls. I said, Ya Ahla Sham, O people of Sham, have some haya, have some decency. Why do you slaughter your animals on the bazaar? They said, we don't slaughter our animals in the bazaar. So he said, why is there so much blood on this bazaar? Why is there so much blood on the walls? They said, a few moments ago, the daughters of Imam Ali and Imam Sajjad were walking through this bazaar. So he said, why is there so much blood? They said, because people were stoning them and throwing hot water upon them. Oh Sahel, this blood you see on the walls of the bazaar is from the cuts and the bruises of the likes of Bibi Sakina and Bibi Zainab and Bibi Kulthum and Imam Sajjad. They say Imam Sajjad would also always say, Asham, Asham, Asham. The difficulty I faced in Sham, I will never forget. Why? They say when they were kept outside of the Darbar of Sham, not for 1 hour, not 2 hours, not 3 hours. The narration says 3 days they were made to stand outside of the Darbar of Sham. Imam Sajjad said to Shimr, why are you keeping us here? Why are we waiting in the sun for so long? He said, we are decorating the Darbar for you. And so when the Bibis entered, they weren't used to this type of sitting, this setting, all these men watching them. So they would try to hide between each other. There was one rope and there was 18 different necks. This one rope was put through the necks of the Bibis and Imam Sajjad and Bibi Sakina. Then rope which connected Bibi Sakina was attached to the neck of Bibi Zainab. So whenever Bibi Zainab would try to lift her neck, Bibi Sakina would have to stand on her toes because there was a difference in their height. So Bibi Zainab would keep her head down. As this was happening, Yazid said, which one of these people is Zainab? Shimr would point and say, that's Zainab over there. Then Shimr would say, where is Sakina? And so they would point towards Sakina standing there. Bibi Sakina had her hands over her face, trying to cover her face. So Yazid said, I have heard you loved your father Hussein a lot. Bibi Sakina tried to speak, but he couldn't hear her. Again Yazid asked, Sakina, I'm talking to you. I've heard you loved your father a lot. Again, Bibi Sakina tried to speak. Her lips were moving, but there was no voice. They said, why can't she speak? Imam Sajjad cried, oh Yazid, your men have tied the rope so tight around her throat, there's no voice coming out. Loosen the rope from her neck and you hear her. And so Yazid would then order the head of Imam Hussein to be brought to him. He would pick up the holy head. He had a stick in his hand. He would begin hitting the holy head, hitting the holy lips, poking the holy eyes and the holy nose. The flesh of Imam Hussein was dripping with blood. Then he said, call for me a barber. They said, why? He said, because it seems to me, looking at the veins of the throat of Imam Hussein, he's been killed with a blunt blade. So Sakina was watching. But this part breaks the heart. Those of you with daughters, with sisters, may Allah protect your family. Imam Sajjad is watching. A man was staring at Bibi Sakina. He then pointed to her and said, Yazid, how much will you sell this girl to me? I want to make her my Ghanese. I want to make her my servant. She'll come and clean my house for me. Normally Bibi Sakina would hold the hands of Hazrat Abbas. Oh, my uncle, help me. But there's no Abbas in the Darbar of Sham. So she ran to Bibi Zainab. Oh, Aunt Zainab, don't let them take me away from you. Lady Zainab came to the front. She said, Yabnat Tolaka, oh Yazid, are you trying to sell our daughters? My grandfather Rasulullah had set your grandfather Abu Sufyan free. Today you are trying to sell his daughters? I will see who tries to sell my Sakina. And so she saved the children. But Imam Sajjad says, I still can't forget my sister Sakina. They said to him, why? Imam Sajjad says, because in my feet I would have thorns. I would have these kante which would be stinging my feet. Now I couldn't bend down. My neck had these chains which were so heavy. So my sister Sakina would come up to me. She would remove the thorns from my feet. Then Imam Sajjad began to cry. The narrator says, why are you crying? He said, because Sakina had thorns in her feet. but I couldn't remove them from her. And so that night came on the 13th of Safar in the Zindan of Sham. Lady Sakina woke up from her sleep and she was crying, "Where is my father Hussein? I saw him in my dream. He said to me, Sakina, I am coming to collect you. So where is he?" Now all of the Bibis began to cry. They knew how much Sakina loved Imam Hussein. They couldn't hold their pain anymore. Yazid was sleeping. He woke up. He said, "What is this crying I hear from the Zindan?" They said, "It's the daughter of Hussein. She wants to see her father." So he said, "Take her father to her." They brought the head of Imam Hussein on a plate and they covered it with some foil. They said to Sakina, "Come and see your father." She said, "I don't want food. Why have you brought me food? I want to see my father." They said, "This is not food. Remove the foil. You'll see who's underneath." Bibi Sakina removed the foil. Now the narration mentions she didn't hit her cheeks. All of the Bibis would hit their cheeks when they were in pain. Bibi Sakina began hitting her mouth. Why? Because her cheeks were already covered with the bruises. There was no area for her to hit where she wasn't already hit. So she began hitting her mouth in pain. "Oh my father, why is there blood on your beard?" I would say, "Bibi Sakina, look closely. That's the blood of your Ali Asghar. That's the blood of your Ali Akbar." Bibi Sakina would cry, "My father, why are there so many bruises on your face? Who separated you from me? After you, they burnt my clothes. They would tie my neck in a rope. They dragged me through the bazaars of Kufa and Sham." Then she put her bruised cheeks onto the bruised cheeks of Imam Hussein. Then the Zindan fell silent. Imam Sajjad and the Bibis thought Sakina is now sleeping. So Imam Sajjad walked to his sister. He tried to move her arm. The next cries heard was Imam Sajjad crying, "Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un." He cried, "Oh Aunt Zainab, our Sakina has now joined her father. You've been to many janazas. I've been to janazas, but the janazah of Bibi Sakina was like no one else." Imam Sajjad is standing there with zanjeers in his hand. He makes a small hole in the grave. He buries his sister there. But before this, I finish with these words. Before this, they called a lady to perform the ghusl of Bibi Sakina. She came back a few minutes later, screaming and crying. They said to her, "Why are you screaming?" She said, "Did this girl have a disease? Did she have a special cure? What's the matter with her?" They said, "Why are you asking this?" She said, "There were so many bruises on the body of this 4-year-old. When I tried to remove her shirt, her skin began peeling off as well. What did she go through?" Imam Sajjad cried, "My sister Sakina did not have any disease. These bruises are from the whippings of the likes of Shimmer. That blood on her skin is because of the wounds she had to go through. My father Hussein was buried without a coffin. Bury my Sakina without a coffin as well. My father Hussein was buried without a coffin. Bury my Sakina without a coffin as well." Allah la'natullahi al-qawmi zalimin wa sayalamu allazina zalamu ayyamun kalibiyan kalibun. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by the haqq of Bab al-Hawaija, Bibi Sakina, to accept our humble offering, to forgive us of our sins, to bless this household and all of its inhabitants, to increase the rizq and the abundance of this household, and to remove all difficulties from this household. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to be with Bibi Sakina, fi dunya, wa fil qabr, wa fil akhirah, ma Hussein.